One approach would be to reduce the fragments to a normal level and then try to achieve union. The other approach would be to achieve union first by shortening the femoral segment and lengthen at the second stage. So depending on what approach you want to argue for, you can argue either way. If I were to give her a choice, I'll argue first achieve union. Why? He's had an open fracture, which was initially open and healed secondarily in tension. He's had heavy traction. The fragments are all osteoporotic now. If I have to do distraction first, I'll have to do Ilizarov type of a distraction, proximal femur, distal femur, proximal tibia, at least up to the middle of the tibia. It's a very cumbersome frame geometry that is there. It will need to be on for long term. 40 millimeters, minimum of 40 days. Minimum at the earliest. Okay, 1 millimeter a day. Okay, so that is the level of intervention that is required. And then you do something for getting the fragments together and achieving union. And at the end of it, you're still going to have a stiffening. So I would go in favor of freeing the proximal femur, shortening to the extent to achieve the reduction, and primarily fixing it with a hardware distal femur plate, whatever locking titanium, whatever you want to do. Fix it up. Probably doesn't need grafting because I'll be able to freshen it and it will work well and achieve union. First step. Mobilize, free the battle also. Free the battle also. Okay, and then mobilize the knee if it is possible. I don't think it is going to be very possible. Beyond 30 degrees of some movement, I don't expect anything. I'll be able to get some quadriceps extension. My goal will be to achieve union, to achieve some degree of extension so that he can be allowed to go. The shortening approach. And I'll argue it strongly like this.
Will be also doing a quadriceps.
I don't know whether my colleagues agree.
Distract with that, keeping a watch on the vessel so that minimum bone is to be short. Otherwise, by pulling the hand, it will not be possible. So we use the distractor and gradually on the table we do so that minimum shortening can be. Otherwise, by just putting the laser out, straightening it, it means another 1 year for them. Has already passed. Dr. Jain Sharma is mastering laser out. He wants to make some comments. No, this is the, because this is an open discussion. Because those people I have no idea of the laser out at all.
I endorse definitely shorten it, lock it, receive immediate, and then later on going for the
primary level.
Yeah, primary
He will do with the
section.
He do fixation after docking.
Sir, in such a case, we do primary shortening and then try to achieve blending after later.
Please. Hello. This case is more or less over. Now, I just want to sum it up. You see, this is a difficult case for anyone. Okay. And if such a case is kept in the exam, there are going to be 4 examiners with 4 different views which you have already had. You already had been exposed to how differently we.
There was a talk by Dr. Jain Sharma on the ward rounds. He was going to show ward rounds. So instead of today, because we have to finish off some of the main items of Dr. Matthew, that is gait and orthotics and prosthetics, which takes a longer time. So this ward round, and then we wanted to include the specimen talk by Dr. Mahale from Dure. These 2 talks we will adjust tomorrow, but then see that tomorrow we start little early in the morning, and then you will be able to get everything that we want to cover in this particular course. So is it okay for you? No, today after this case, Dr. Matthew will take on gait and orthotic prosthetics. And the today's talk of Dr. Sharma on ward round, and because Dr. Thakur has not come today, we wanted to include Dr. Mahale's talk on these specimens. On the tables, you are shown specimens. So he has got collection of some specimens on which he has made a PowerPoint presentation. About what specimens you can be asked and what are the questions you are supposed to answer. So these two talks we'll try to include tomorrow, but then we'll have to start a little early. So if everybody is okay with it, then we can reschedule tomorrow's program. Okay.
Subacute VH right.
Pardon?
Subacute movement
Subacute movements.
in contract of side. Movement is
Does it simplify your life?
like management,
It's mal united.
not united. Still fracture and something. Movements are there. And
How old is the injury?
2.5 months.
2.5 years. A child of this age, forearm fracture, in what is the reasonable time in which it should unite? 6 to 8 weeks. So almost double the time has elapsed. And you feel it is still not united. So is it a delayed union or non-union?
Delayed.
Delayed union. Okay. So can you demonstrate some physical signs in your work?
He's having pain with the fracture.
You see, she has pain everywhere.
Yes.
She has pain everywhere. That doesn't mean that there is an ununited fracture or a delayed union. Is there any demonstrable mobility there?
Only in the ulnar side there is a minimal abdominal. In the ulnar side. Yes, sir.
Has anybody else also seen this patient or not? Nobody else? Because I tried to elicit mobility and I feel there is none. Okay, so let's move further because there are other important things in this patient. Now you also said flail hand. You said it's a flail hand. Usually for the hand, we do not use this terminology. Okay. Though you may be technically right, I am not saying that this is a wrong impression, but I would be more happy if you say it's a completely paralyzed hand.
Global.
Okay, because there are no movements. Okay. You also said that there is a subacute Volkmann ischemic contract. Even this terminology is not usual terminology. What are you trying to convey?
It's already 12 months already and there is available range of Volkmann and non-established. That's why it's subacute. Yes. Established and non-established as well. But in the other classifications are there, subacute, subacute. Workman, non-established type of workman is
Which year are you? Which year are you studying? Second. Okay, can you demonstrate the workman sign to me on this picture?
extension of this
Just a minute, let the camera focus on it, so everybody can see.
and we try to extend the NCT joint.
What is the position of the wrist?
This is now it's in the maximum extension.
Okay.
Then once you palmar leg, then if you do that extension of NCT joint will be more improved.
Will be more, or you demonstrate what is the workman sign positive?
This is the maximum possible. Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then in whatever maximum extension possible.
What are the deformities in a workman's ischemic contract?
It will be
Usual deformities.
the elbow, below elbow. If there is below elbow, there will be
Let us from proximal to distal.
pronation of the forearm and the wrist flexion. Then there will be into
No, there can be a flexion deformity at the elbow also. Okay, start with that.
flexion of the elbow and the pronation deformity of the forearm.
Okay.
Flexion of the elbow, open it with. Then extension at top. NPC joint and flexion.
And what about the thumb?
Then will be adductor.
Adducted thumb. So, does this patient demonstrate the classical deformities? Which one? Is the wrist
Forearm.
inflection? Is the wrist inflection?
Forearm is in pronation.
Forearm is in pronation.
NPC joints are in flexion and LP joints are in flexion.
Alright. So rather than calling it subacute, I think it would be better if the workman sign is demonstrably positive. You can call it workman's ischemic contracture. Severe grade. Why severe? Because in spite of the fact that the deformities are not severe, the deformities are not severe, but we still grade it as a severe one. Why?
So associated with nerve injury.
All the three nerves,
Alright.
all the three nerves in this patient are involved. So it categorizes it into a severe degree of workman's ischemic contract. Alright? How did you say that all the three nerves are involved? Is it a complete involvement or a partial involvement?
I think it's completely.
Why?
Because both motor and sensation are low.
Okay.
All the three.
So is sensation there in any one of these three?
Below
So
the
it's an anesthetic hand. It's a totally anesthetic hand. Both median and ulnar nerve distribution are involved, and probably the radial one. I did not check the radial, you must have done it. So even that is involved. So it's a anesthetic hand, it's a completely paralyzed hand, and the workman sign is positive. So this qualifies it into a severe grade of workman sign. What will you do for it? Is there any other possibility? Differential diagnosis?
because Today that CRPS.
Do you get a sensory loss in that? Does the hand become anesthetic? Even motor loss is not there? Pulse is alright. Alright.
It's a very nice demonstrable physical sign here. We came back to check for the Volkmann sign and that. Because in severe cases, there is also intrinsic contracture that happens. I'm not demonstrating as yet, don't worry. I'm just telling you, since I don't know how many of you heard what Dr. Sandeep Patwardhan spoke in his lecture. He talked about Suge's classification, TSUGE, Suge's classification. And in Suge, this is a severe variety of the Volkmann ischemic contracture. And when you have a severe variety, intrinsic contracture is also part of some of these severe varieties. Okay, so when you have intrinsic contracture, you must look for intrinsic contracture. And how do you look for is what I came back to check for. Initially, I hadn't checked that. I came back to check that. It is beautifully positive. So I don't know how many of you know about Bunnell's test. Anybody knows Bunnell's test? Paul Bunnell's test for intrinsic contracture. I'll just demonstrate that. I have to be very gentle with her. I have to be very gentle with her. The intrinsics, the lumbricals, they cause flexion of the MP joint, and they cause, you have extension by the long finger extensors, and the IP joints are extended by the interosseous. Okay. Now, when I am keeping the fingers in extension, in maximum extension, like that, I am able to flex the fingers nicely. Can you see that? The functional position of the hand is this. Why? Because the ligaments and the intrinsics are stretched to the maximum in this position. The intrinsic muscle, interosseous. So when I am extending this, you are able to flex this nicely. When I am flexing this, can you see that? When I keep the MP joint in extension, good flexion is there. You see that? When I take it into flexion, there is almost like a springing which is happening. There is a lot of stiffness and pain there. It's like all these joints, the moment you flex, in this position flexion is possible, in this position there is restriction. And I'm extending, this is possible, flexing it, all the intrinsics are getting tight. They're all getting tight. You can see that in Paul Bunnell's test, you check for intrinsics by doing this. In MP joint extension, MP joint flexion, look at this movement, what's happening at the IP joint. The IP joint has to become stiff. Okay?
Sometimes very interesting situations where in these cases, and there is an intrinsic contraction along with an ulnar nerve paralysis. On one side there is a colloid component, another side there is an intrinsic contraction, and it becomes very difficult to really find out. Both can be associated. See, in a movement ischemic contracture, the ulnar nerve can cause a climb which is intrinsic minus sign, and this we were demonstrating a kind of a contracture, in other words a plus sign. Both can be associated and it may become very difficult to differentiate one from the other. I'd like to comment on this.
No, I agree with Dr. Gautam. Let's get on to the case now. So, how will we manage this patient now? Before we go on to the management, I want to emphasize on one very important point is, whenever you have an upper extremity case, the first thing which you should try to convey to the examiner is, are we dealing with the dominant limb or the non-dominant? Because this problem is not there in the lower extremity, though we have a dominance there also. But function of both the lower extremities is identical. But in the upper extremity, dominant limb is much more, it's much more capable, much more dexterous. So it's important. Is it the dominant limb?
Right hand.
So right hand dominant, it's a paralytic limb, no sensation there, with contractures.